Hi there.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Nicole Orabona. You told me I could literally say anything I wanted about myself, and now I'm like I'm like the first day of school in class, like, I've never had a single interesting thing happen to me in my whole life.
Well, what do you do?
I am an actor and model, I guess I would add for the purposes of this conversation. And as a muggle job, I also work in social media and content management.
Oh, okay, cool. I actually didn't even really know that about you.
I don't like to tell people for some reason. I'm like, oh, that's my boring job.
I got you. I understand. Being married to an actor, I get it. So, one of the first questions I always go into with the people who fall under the model category chat is, do you call yourself a model? Why or why not? And the answers to this question are varied and interesting. And so you said, I guess I'm a model in the context of this conversation. So outside of this conversation, do you ever call yourself a model, and why or why not?
Yeah, it's funny because when you told me you were going to ask me that question, I started thinking about it. Hey, I did my homework. Like I guess I used to never classify myself as a model. I think because like the negative associations of modeling in the fashion industry and expectations and demands on women's bodies and what models looked like. And so even though I had like technically been paid to model, I never wanted to consider myself a model because I was like, oh, I don't want to be part of that. And also I think there was a part of me that was like self-conscious and like, oh, I couldn't be part of that, you know? But something that since modeling with you, Mallory, for SmartGlamour, and I remember people ask you the question, like, are those real models? And you're like, yes, they're real models. Like, they are modeling my clothes. I pay them to be here modeling my clothes. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's so right. Like, people have paid me to model. That makes me a model. And modeling itself doesn't have to be associated. Doesn't have to be associated with all the like negative aspects of the industry. It just so commonly is. So yes, I am a model.
You brought up so many good points there. That comment of like, oh, like, are these real models? Many times I've even had people message me and say that like my imagery is weird looking, which it's so funny because I mean it just looks like, accurate people wearing clothes and looking happy. And I don't know, there's a lot of things about it that's different, and obviously that's all intentional, but like I think it's the combination of all of those things that makes it maybe seem weird, because typically if you're shopping on like an e-commerce website, I mean sometimes the models don't even have heads, so like to see them and like some have glasses, some are wearing flats, some of them are smiling or laughing, I guess technically that is quote unquote weird.
I think it's just uncommon, and so when people don't know how to classify something they don't see often, they're like, oh, it's weird.
And then the other thing that you mentioned about like, oh, I don't want to be a part of that because it's associated with like so many negative connotations, and the industry can be associated with so many negative connotations. I get that too, because so like prior to SmartGlamour, I personally modeled, and modeled in the like mainstream sense of the word, not for companies anything like SmartGlamour at all. And it was always kind of like a weird inner struggle with that, because I personally don't like being defined by my appearance. And yet that was like my job to be defined by my appearance. And it made me feel uncomfortable, like being at a shoot. If the space was fun and the photographer was nice and the makeup artist was nice, like that's like a fun controlled environment. But then like when it gets released out into the world, or maybe you're at a runway show and the event is weird and the guests are weird, like and now I'm saying weird, but I mean like uh uncomfortable and inappropriate and exploitative, then I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? But then at the end of the day, it's like, if you're getting paid for it, it's like, you know,
You need paycheck's a paycheck.
I'm in my early mid-20s. Like, I need to make some money. If you want to pay me to like walk down this runway in a bathing suit, like, I guess I'm going to do it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's hard to um find a balance of it, you know. Like, later in life I tried to do fit modeling again, and I actually, like, after one job, I stopped doing it because it made me so uncomfortable. Like, I had like grown into a different kind of person and was like, you know what, this is not for me anymore.
Totally.
So, but aside from being a model, or me suggesting that you are one, you're mainly an actor, which I know that about you. Was that what you always wanted to do? Like, what was your journey to becoming an actor?
Yeah, I was always one of those very dramatic children. When I was 3, I was like, I want to be a movie star. Like, I just was always performing. I started dancing at age 3, and was, just always a very ham bone child. So I did always want to be a performer. I think there was like a brief moment in my early elementary school years where when I was very into dance and thought I might be a dancer, but I'm actually too clumsy to be a professional dancer. Call myself a mover these days. And yeah, like, I just always knew I wanted to be an actor. Like, I went to undergrad for acting. I've been acting since 4th grade was my first play. And I've been acting professionally since I was 18. So yeah, it's always been my thing.
And as I was asking that question, I realized that I skipped one that is probably because it's a video and I'm looking at you. But for folks who are not watching the video version of this, could you describe your appearance?
Oh, yes. I am a mid or early to mid 30s, light-skinned Puerto Rican woman with very short cropped hair, like an outgrown buzz. I'm currently wearing a very dark blue cable knit sweater, red lipstick, and red nail polish.
And for the purpose of SmartGlamour conversations, you would be considered a straight size model, just in case we talk about anything that has anything to do with that. Yeah. So back to the acting stuff. So this is a little bit of a leading question because I follow you and I know what kind of stuff you do. But I've had a few different conversations with folks that model who are also, who model for me, but are also actors, and kind of like how they choose to exist within the realm of like mainstream acting jobs versus like working for like smaller either theater companies or doing like community work. Like how did you find that path for you as an actor? Or are you kind of like wavering in between, or what's that process?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, it was always just like say yes to all the work all the time. And like, I think that's, unfortunately part of the entertainment industry is that like you're told you're not allowed to have boundaries if you want to make it. And like, you have to just like go in there and throw yourself at everything and always say yes, never say no, do whatever you can, meet as many people as possible. So I moved to New York after I graduated college to do theater. And I'm from Idaho originally. So I didn't know anyone in New York. I had like 2 acquaintances. Like, they would let me crash on their couch for a few days, but not like close friends. So like, I moved here and I didn't know what the heck I was getting. Like, I knew nothing about the theater industry in New York. And I just had to like come and get like a crash landing course. Sorry, I'm going off like on a tangent, but it's going to come back around.
It's okay. Okay.
And then and then I worked in a bar for like almost 5 years. Because like being an actor in the city is like, you know, you're not just going to go get. It's very rare that you move to New York and then you just suddenly start working as an actor. If you are, then like there's a lot of things you had in your favor for that to happen. So so I got like caught up in the bar scene, working at a bar in Midtown for 5 years and like partying all the time. But I also like met some really great friends there, and we started our own sketch comedy group that would perform in the bar once a month, and it was really silly, but we always had a really great turnout. And so for a while, that was like my only real creative outlet. And then like one day it hit me after I'd been working in this bar for almost 5 years and making great money and having a great time. But I was like, what am I doing? Like I just woke up and I was like, what am I doing here? Like somebody asked me for a vodka soda with a lemon. And in my head, I was like, do you think I don't know that your vodka soda comes with a lemon? Like, what do you think I'm going to do? And I was like, oh, like I can't do my job. And I was like, oh God, I'm not good at this anymore. Like I forgot what I'm doing here. So then I went and refocused my energy on theater. And even by then, like I wasn't even that young anymore. I mean, I was not that young, but I wasn't post-grad immediately post-grad anymore. I wasn't like fresh to the city. I had a little bit of feet on the ground first, which I think helped because then I was able to like just start auditioning a lot more. And it's kind of one of those like, the more you work, the more you work. The more I auditioned and the more people I met, the more that they would be likely to like contact me again to work with them or pass my name on to someone else. And so for me, it's really only like, while I have had like, you know, a play here and there, a small gig here and there, since college, it wasn't until like I really decided to like, what am I actually like, what do I want to do with my life? And I had to like make a conscious decision to like quit the bar and try and find new work that could support me. And it was like terrifying. And I did a bunch of like free theater. This was your question originally. How do I find the balance? God.
No, it's fine. Don't feel bad about you telling your story.
So I did a lot of work and I was saying yes to everything and it was delightful. And I met like some of my all-time favorite collaborators. Now I'm really lucky to be booked all the time because like I have been able to meet so many people. And now I do like have to strike a balance and be like, okay, again, it's always reevaluating like what is actually important to me. It's important to me, in addition to my career, to have like space for myself and my mental health and time with my partner, time to unwind. So I try and be more like I have like criteria for who I work with, either like, it has to fit like three out of the four. Let me name them off. So like either, I have to love the project. Like it has to be like, oh my God, this script or whatever. Like I love this role. I will do it no matter what. I have to love the people. Like, oh, these people get me. Like working with them satisfies my soul creatively. Or it has to like pay well. Like the first two, if I don't really care for the people and I don't really care for the script, but they're paying me incredibly well, then like that outweighs it because mama gotta make that coin.
Right.
Or
right.
will it bolster my career? And several years ago, the answer to will it bolster my career was yes, more often. And now that I'm more established and like have built a reputation for myself and have a bigger network, I don't have to say yes to as many like, I don't want to say small opportunities, but opportunities that don't like, I don't have to say yes to as many other things. Like I can choose of those four things. Like you better hit at least two.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And do you have an agent for this work, or is it you're finding it yourself and like networking?
I just got an agent literally like right before COVID hit.
Wow.
And that's for commercial and TV work. I don't have a
Uh-huh.
theater. I don't have a theatrical agent. So all my work that I've been getting has all been through self bookings or just straight up like recommendation. I also find like
Mm.
I love getting my friends work. Like one of my all-time favorite
Mhm.
things in life is to get somebody that I care about a job. Um, and I don't do that. Like there's a golden perk of that is that like in turn people always think of me, but like that's not the reason I do it. I just love getting people jobs. But when you give, you get. So
Right.
it's like very
Uh-huh.
reciprocal.
And have you, I mean, obviously now you got an agent for TV and commercial and then the pandemic happened, but um have you been doing like, at home self tapes for commercial and TV?
Oh yeah, I have. My new agents are fantastic and have been sending me. I do between 1 and 3 self tapes a week.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I'm quarantining in Western Massachusetts. My partner has some severe health issues, and we normally in New York we live on a sailboat, and so we have shared bathroom facilities, and it's just like so too much of a risk to have shared bathrooms with like hundreds
Uh-huh.
of other people. So we're in Western
Yeah.
Mass until we're vaccinated. Um, so I haven't been booking, which I'm like, why am I not booking? But also like, they don't want like. I'm glad they're not bringing people in from out of state. Like they're being very COVID cautious and like only booking
Right.
people really that are like in state. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself. And, and I feel like there would also be like a very weird wait I'd have to figure out of like, oh, I booked this job. Do I actually take a job in real life right now? Like that would have to be actually very good money for me to take a real life
Mhm.
in-person job because of the risks
Mhm.
associated. Like it would have to be paying me well enough that I could quarantine in a hotel before coming back home and like travel to New York safely. There's all sorts of new things to consider.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my husband's done one in-person job during the pandemic, but also like I'm not an at-risk person, so that's definitely a different situation. And I mean, luckily, and it was like for a big budget TV show. So when you're a big budget TV show, you have the budget to be like the most COVID safe you possibly can, and like be testing people like 3 times a week and everyone's
Mm-hmm.
in their own bubbles and they're you can take every extra mile,
Yeah,
which is not always the case.
exactly. I have a friend who's like a COVID safety officer on sets,
Mm,
which I actually really appreciate having that insight into the industry and being like, okay, people, they are taking this seriously as like, as
mhm.
a whole for the most part.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that's always nice to see considering like so much of this country is not.
I know.
I don't even know if I want to go down that road.
I know it's too, we don't have time for that.
It's gonna be an anger podcast if we do that. Uh, so one thing I do want to ask, I feel like jumping off prior conversations I've had with SG models who also act as like um I feel like a lot of them have a bit of a struggle between like finding work that like makes them feel good and makes them feel validated. And I'm wondering if drop my phone. I'm wondering if you have that issue or maybe you have that issue less because you do more theater based work. And I for some reason in my mind I tend to think of like small theater work as like a little bit more I don't know, inclusive and open minded and self-aware than like when you're trying to do like TV commercial movie work.
Yeah, totally. All those things that you said are have like a little basis of truth for me.
Mm-hmm.
I there like yeah, there's always a struggle, especially when you're like not super well established and or like a big star and like how do you choose and get good fun material in the indie theater scene? Like it's nice that I work on mostly new plays. I work very rarely with cis hetero white men, which is great. um, like I do often work in a slightly more diverse sphere. It's not perfect though. Like there's always there's always challenges. There's a lot of people you get taken advantage of a lot in smaller indie theater settings. Like there are people out there that are willing and ready to exploit you if you're young and desperate and hungry for work.
Right.
Also, like I love working on new works, but there sometimes scripts just need like a couple more developmental sessions. So I've done a lot of bad theater too. Like not every theater job is I'm not gonna like call anyone out by any means, but not every theater job is life changing.
Right.
What I do love about and sometimes and then like I do some commercial work because it pays the bills. Like it's sad when you can make more on one day on set for a commercial than you will in like a whole week for a theater contract.
Right.
So
yes,
that stuff is like, okay, that's just a job. I'm just gonna show up and do my job. And I feel like that's kind of how I started getting into modeling, was because I was like, a lot of that, like doing there's a lot of crossover. Like I use casting networks to find work, and there's a lot of times it's like basically you're modeling because you're doing commercial, but it's like there's no dialogue, or it's for a print ad or something, like or it's like an online, like a digital media spot, and it's just like they want your expressions. And that's also like that's where I feel like it can get uncomfortable, like you were mentioning, like, oh, is this a good set, a bad set, like what's the expectation here? And what I love about modeling for SmartGlamour is that like it is for me really fulfilling. Like it feels good to represent your product.
Thank you. Now that you're just bringing up these extra modeling jobs, I'm thinking about that that art exhibit. Now I'm forgetting the name of it, where you were like doing like body part modeling.
Oh yeah, that
what was that
so
called?
weird. It was called A Human.
Right.
That's one of my weirder jobs. Because I do a lot of work in immersive and interactive theater. So I've gotten into this niche where I do like pop-up activations where like, brands want to seem hip and cool and they have an immersive exhibit.
Yeah.
And like that's one of those things where like it pays great money. Like they pay so well. They treat you well. It's a dumb job, but it's fun. Like, and so that one it was this like it was supposed to be this like futuristic exhibit where they did like body modification to the extreme was the new form of fashion. So I had this every night I would like walk up these steps behind a flat and stick my leg in a hole. A hole in the wall, and I had this prosthetic on my foot that looked like my oh gosh, it looked like my heel had grown out to it, like the heel of a high heel. Like my foot had been extended and it had scales on it. So I sat in like a prosthetic chair for a couple hours, for like an hour or two every day. And we had like shifts. There was like a couple people for each role. And then I would like climb into this, put my leg in a hole, and I'd had to sit there with my leg like on my tiptoes, just like perfect, like almost perfectly still. So it was like uncanny valley when people walking through the exhibit don't, because there was both real human models and all prosthetic models. So one of the things was you didn't know if it was alive or not. So every now and then I would just like I would hear people outside and I'd like wiggle my toe and they'd be like, ah! It moves. So I just screamed in your ear. Oh my God.
It's okay. I was just going to ask if you could hear people, because like my husband and I went to it, and I remember walking around and like that being the experience of like, because the way when you see it as a viewer is like you're walking basically kind of down like a hallway, and then there's a wall with little windows, and like in a window is like someone's foot.
Yeah, that was my
Right.
foot. So, where I
Right, right.
was, like, I was propped up on this, like, platform in the air, and they were really great to me. They got all these, like, pillows, so I had built this little pillow throne,
Okay.
um, and, like, I had, like, support under my knee and stuff,
Okay.
and if I pressed my ear against the wall, because it was just plywood,
Uh-huh.
I could usually, like, hear people,
Mhm.
and you could always hear, like, you could just overhear people's conversations. I couldn't ever really hear what that much of what they were saying unless I really, like, put a glass up there.
Yeah.
Um,
They'd probably have to be talking pretty loud, which would be weird because you're like in an exhibit. Like no one talks that
yeah,
loud when
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I did once somebody airdropped me a picture of my own foot. They didn't know it was to me, but they were just, like, airdrop, you know how weirdos, like, airdrop to
Yeah.
whoever's around?
Ugh. Yeah.
That was
Because
before
that's
I
a thing.
yeah, I turned that function off shortly after that because I was like, "That's very bizarre, stranger."
Yeah, that happened to me once in the subway. And I was like,
I'm sure
"Oh,
it wasn't
no.
your own yeah, that ooh, I've heard horror stories.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm." It's like, this is nope, nope, don't want this feature. Men don't need this extra fun feature for their lives. What? A way to send more unsolicited things to women? Great.
Awesome, love
And
it.
so when it comes, I'm trying to like let's circle this back and try to tie some of it into fashion a little bit. So prior to, I mean, there probably isn't really a prior to like being an actor or being a performer or being on stage, but prior to like realizing you could tie that into modeling as a way to make money and like kind of like an add-on to your forms of performance, what was your relationship to fashion and or body image, like if at all?
Yeah, I've always loved fashion, like, I always liked clothes as a little
Mhm.
girl, and
Mhm.
dressing up, and I think, like, being in dance and being a performer made me enjoy, like, dressing up and, putting together outfits was always, like, a creative pastime of mine. When I
Mhm.
was in high school and early college, I was, like, very much a fast fashion shopper. Um,
Mhm.
like, the minute I had any money to spend from allowance, like, I was hitting up Banana Republic, and, you know, all those mall stores, the clearance rack, of course,
Mhm.
but,
Mhm.
but always, and like I would, and you know, my best friend and I would like pour over Vogue and try and keep up with the trends. I wore heels all the time for some reason. This was in like the early to mid 2000s, so it was not a great time for fashion
Uh-huh.
actually. But I thought I had good fashion. And then
Uh-huh.
as I got into like my senior year of college, was really broke because that was, you know, the just after like recession start times. Recession.
Mhm.
My friend and I, who had also like gone on this fashion journey together as we grew up, discovered thrifting. Like we went to a thrift store one day, and I found like
Mhm.
all these beautiful vintage um, clothes that were exactly my size. And like I had thrifted as a high schooler. Like, you know, I went to Savers to like buy fun costume pieces or silly things, but never like considered
Mhm.
shopping secondhand for my like everyday fashion. But I found all these beautiful vintage
Mhm.
pieces that fit me perfectly, and I like had this realization of like, oh my god, there's all these treasures here. And then when I graduated in the winter, and I was bored, so I watched a lot of documentaries and started becoming just like a much more trying to become a much more like ethical consumer. Um, and
Mhm.
like realizing like started learning about the fast fashion industry, and a lot of the industries in the United States, the meat industry, and like really just educating myself and
Mhm.
becoming aware of ways that I could make an impact in some sort of tiny way in to the environment, to myself, to whoever, to everyone. So I like became vegetarian and really started focusing more on thrift store shopping. And I've been like an avid thrifter. I used some friends and I used to have a blog where we would take photos of ourselves in our thrifted fashion and blog about it. I love that it like gives you a really unique style and the ability to like really like play with your aesthetic without spending a lot of money or like supporting factories and so and now I still do most of my shopping secondhand, but I'm also like part of the perk of like, since I can't go to thrift stores anymore, part of the like silver lining of being on lockdown is like I have the time and resources and energy to do more research. Like, oh, if I'm not going to buy this secondhand, like who makes this in a way that like I feel good paying for it? Like, are the workers being paid a living wage? Like, is it being sourced sustainably? So yeah, there's definitely been an evolution, and I feel very strongly about like buying ethically when I am shopping for the things, the garments that I wear.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You know, I think sometimes we forget, like once we get to a portion of our life where we're having these like deeper thoughts about the way that we consume things, I think it's important to remember, and also even just to talk about it for the sake of other people who maybe are just becoming aware of these things, that like, you know, we all also grew up in the same society, and like we were also unaware at some point, you know, like the way that I personally became aware of the harms of fast fashion was working in the fashion industry. You know, like up until I got a corporate job, my favorite place to shop was Forever 21, which, like, if anyone hears anything I ever talk about on the internet, is probably a surprising sentence. But, like, you know, I also was a human being who, like, was an 18-year-old to 22-year-old in that, like, time when, I mean, I remember when Forever 21 opened in New York City. So, like, that's, like, when I was like, woo, look at this. I can go and, like, buy 4 dresses for $70. And look at this deal. And didn't think anything of it. Like, didn't, you know, just truly didn't think about it. And then working in a corporate fashion environment where we were making clothes that were going to be sold at places even cheaper than Forever 21, knowing that we were buying things from Forever 21 to copy it, and then knowing how our clothes are made, I was like, whoa, this is a nightmare that I was not aware of.
Yeah, and even all your stories about working in the industry from the inside are always so fascinating to me. Like, no matter how much you read, and you're still not going to get that like insider's perspective the way you are so open about it.
Yeah, because I mean, I think, man, fashion is is a complicated topic for me, because it was something that I was always interested in, but without realizing it, I wasn't actually interested in the fashion industry. Like, I was interested in fun clothes and how they made me feel and how I could make other people feel. And you know, even once I got to FIT, there was a lot of like, oh, who's your favorite designer? Like, oh, what's your favorite magazine? And I was like, I don't know, none. Like, I I don't really pay attention. You know, that was just not how I thought about fashion. And so to then be like, well, I guess I'm gonna get a corporate fashion job because I guess that's what this is. That I was like so disappointed that that's what it was. Like, that wasn't my plan. That wasn't my interest. And then I found out how even worse it was than I even thought it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what do I do?
I think
but
oh God, I'm just like pulling out my microphone. Go ahead.
But what I was just gonna end my thought with was you know, I think it's important to say and to stress that, like, you know, you're not born with all the information you're gonna have, and like, we don't have all the information we're gonna have right now. You know, you're gonna keep learning and growing, and like, if you bought fast fashion for up until yesterday, and now today you're like, you know what, I think I'm gonna make moves to try to do things differently. That's okay. Like, no one's a
Yeah.
perfect consumer.
Yes. I mean, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. So, yeah, I think it's so important to recognize that, like, even just making small, like, individuals are not responsible for
Right.
like keeping the planet alive.
No.
Corporations are responsible for destroying our planet, but every little bit helps. Like, I became vegetarian. I started for months as a weekday vegetarian. Like, I would only eat meat on the weekends, and I was like, I'm going to cut down my carbon footprint a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then like eventually realized I didn't want to eat meat at all. And I think like I
Mm-hmm.
still, even in my early days of thrifting, still would hit up the mall now and again, or
Mm-hmm.
be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh shit, I need this one piece
Right.
for a job interview or for whatever. I'm just going to go to H&M and grab something.
Right.
Like it's not that I've never again shopped at H&M.
Right. Right. Right.
Like, sometimes you
Yeah.
just have to do what you have to do, but like
Right.
if you
Right.
make conscious effort.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
also
no,
think, oh, go
no
ahead.
one's perfect.
No. Something that you also made me think of when you were talking about like having a love for fashion, but not like being into fashion. I think there's like such a
Mm-hmm.
difference between fashion and style too.
Mm-hmm.
And like I
Mm-hmm.
realized that what I didn't love with fashion was I liked having my personal style and using style as a way to express myself creatively, and
Right.
like finding pieces that again, like you said, made me feel confident and fun and feel good in my body. Like, I think that's the more important.
Right. Right. And it's interesting because it's like, you know, is that fashion? Is it not? Like, I don't really know. Like, I just, sometimes when I talk about it online, I'll like, if I'm talking about fashion style, like the things I enjoy, I'll use like lower cases, and then when I'm say like capital F fashion, that's what I mean. Like, like the industry of fashion.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like very similar to you. When I was in high school, I wore a lot of thrifted and vintage things, and I wasn't even thinking about it again in like a sustainable way. I was just like, these things that I personally like and want are not what's being manufactured for the masses. So how am I going to find them? And that meant, buying a little cute crop sweater off of eBay instead of going to a store, because I didn't want to wear what was in the store. And like, I think for a lot of people, I mean, obviously, because trends exist, folks are participating in fashion for some kind of like aspirational idea of like, I want to fit in, or I want to be quote unquote cool, in a way that means like I'm doing the thing that everyone else has deemed as cool. And like somehow that is what fashion is, like capital F fashion. Um, and that's just never been what it is for me. So like
Mm-hmm.
then becoming a fashion industry professional, it's like, well, that's not the kind of fashion industry professional I want to be. Like, I'm not, people still interview me and ask me for my fashion do's and don'ts. And I'm like,
Fashion do: wear clothes if you're out in public. Fashion don't listen to what other people have to say.
right. Yeah. That's basically what I say is I'm like, well, wear stuff that makes you feel good. That's it. That's all I got. So towards the end of this podcast, I'd like to ask folks, what are some things they'd like to see change about the industry that they're in, that we talked about, and then also how that may or may not tie into the fashion industry. So maybe, and obviously I'm sure there's a billion things, but maybe the things that resonate with you the most, that are most important to you. So like maybe one thing from acting, one thing from your experience with modeling jobs, and then one thing from the fashion industry as a whole.
I think the thing I want to change, which actually kind of goes across the board to all three industries, is like
Okay.
living wage.
Mm.
I just think that in any creative industry, there's been so many studies that the creative people and people in creative industries are the most likely to be taken advantage of, because they're the
Mm-hmm.
people that are like, oh, you do it for your passion. Like, bitch, does a lawyer do their job just for passion? Like, I went to school too. Um, pay me. So,
Mm-hmm.
and there's an expectation, like in both the modeling and in the acting industry, that like to pay your dues, you have to work for free. And then you have to, and not only do you have to put work for free, you have to put up with abuse. Like, I would like to
Mm-hmm.
see people in positions of power who are like abusive of their power, which is most people in positions of power right now, currently in this society,
Unfortunately, yes.
to lose that, like, to lose that power. I guess, like,
Yeah.
I would like to see
Yeah.
people not being not having their labor exploited, not having their bodies exploited, just because you're technically, yes, selling your body if you're modeling a garment, or selling your body to a theater or a commercial agency or a TV show. Like, when you're an actor and a model, like, your body and your image are are all you own, and you just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not all you own, but that's what people are hiring you for this, for you, for your
Right. Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
being. If you're not watching, I'm
Yes.
gesticulating wildly. And you deserve, like, you should be paid for that. I think that also trickles into the fashion industry too. Like, I strongly believe in ethical wages for like garment workers. They have some of the worst living and working conditions, and it it's just abominable. And you know, yeah.
That's it. No,
Realistically, I just
that's
want
a wonderful answer.
the downfall of capitalism is what I want across all industries.
That's such a great answer, and you're right. It really does apply to everything. And when you were just saying toward the end there about garment workers, the one thing that always strikes me so interesting about how badly garment workers are treated is that, like, when I tell people that I know how to sew and I know how to pattern make, sometimes they look at me like I can do magic, right? Like, if you don't know how to make clothes, sometimes the idea that somebody's making clothes can seem like a magical thing. Like, you can't even wrap your mind around it almost if you don't know how to do it. But meanwhile, there's people all around the world, mostly women of color, who are also making your clothing. Are you not impressed with them?
Yes. Right?
Are you only impressed with me because I'm on Instagram and I'm like, here's my serger? Like, that's how they're also making your clothes.
Yeah.
Like, be impressed with them. They should also be paid appropriately.
Yes.
Um. So to close out on a more positive note, what is something you might say to I mean, basically the younger version of you who wants to make a living by being an actor or a creative person of some sort? What's like a motivational tip or
Yeah.
thought you may pass on to
It's so strange to say these things because they do end up sounding like cheesy, but it's so true to just be like, not be afraid to go after what you want.
them? Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I personally, as someone who deals with mental illness, like depression and anxiety, have held myself back in the past just because, like, I was afraid of not being perfect, or I was afraid of failure. And
Mm-hmm.
being able to like release those fears, which again, easier said than done,
Yeah.
is really the most important thing. Like, just like, go after what you want. Go after what you want
Yeah.
with the confidence of a mediocre white man, because you know that, like, he's going after some job that you're more than qualified for.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's so true. What are there any tangible things that you did over time to like make yourself be more comfortable going after what you want, or is it just like a practice?
No, it takes practice. Like, I was really lucky that I got accepted into this training program, slash ensemble for interactive theater, which is all improvised, which was terrifying to me. And I had a mentor basically through it, the man who ran that theater company. We would meet regularly, and I would be like, this is what I'm afraid of. And he'd be like, okay, well, let's work on that. And I'd be like, I'm afraid of taking risks. I'm afraid of going first. And he's like, okay, then you're always going first. Like, I was afraid to volunteer, and like he made it so I always had to volunteer. Like, didn't always, but he's like,
right.
He wouldn't be like, you're not volunteering. But he would give me like tangible, like, volunteer to go first, or name the thing that scares you. And I feel like there's a lot of power in naming things. Like, there was a lot of power when I finally got diagnosed with depression. Like, oh, there's so much power in knowing what I have, and now I can take tangible steps to get it, to move past it and ask for help. I think asking for help is so hard, but so important.
Yeah, I think that's such good advice. I think that that's kind of to me that almost sounds like it's also tied up in the same thing, right? Like you ask for help, and then the help and advice of like say things out loud or like to another person, like what you think is stopping you or you feel is stopping you. Because if it just stays in your head, it's harder to like to jump over
it. keeps spiraling out of control. Yeah.
For sure. So this was such a lovely chat. I really appreciate
thank you for having me.
the time to
this
talk
will
to
be
me.
my second ever podcast, but I very much enjoyed it.
Good job. So how can people follow you and find your work on the internet?
You can follow me on Instagram at @Nicole_Sando. I also have a period art account, period blood art account called Art by Aunt Flo with a W. And my website, NicoleOrabona.com, has all of my upcoming short films and digital projects that I'm working on, Zoom shows, etc.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole.
All right. Thanks, Mel. Have a good one.